back with a power panel I'm very excited about. Let me introduce you to my all-stars. Carl Frisch is a Democratic strategist and progressive radio personality. Faz Shakir is vice president at the Center for American Progress and editor-in-chief of thinkprogress.org. And David Sirota, of course, The Uprising, is the author of Back to Our Future and a regular contributor to Salon.com. Faz, we got to get you a nickname too. Carl, you got to be on a couple of times before you get a nickname. Faz, I'm thinking maybe Thunder Shakir, something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna work on it. Okay.
All right. Thanks. Good. All right. I trust you.
All right. Thank you. So first topic is, does Obama get any blame for Gitmo? We're on the 10th anniversary of Gitmo here. And look, Congress fought him tooth and nail on this. He did propose closing down Guantanamo Bay in the beginning. But did he fight hard enough? Faz, let's start with you. What's your thoughts there?
My feeling is he did. I'm willing to fight with Obama on many things, but on this one I think that he actually tried, and that his worst enemies were the Democrats in Congress. I think to the extent that Obama thought he could get this done, he was naive, because he campaigned against John McCain, who you remember also campaigned for closing down Guantanamo, and he thought he could just walk into the Oval Office and assume that the Republicans were going to join him in this cause, but of course they did not. And then Democrats ended up stabbing him in the back by producing a variety of measures to not only stop the movement of Guantanamo prisoners to the U.S., but also to strip funding that would allow for such a move.
Now, David, let me give some of the facts here. In May of 2009, the Senate voted to block the closing of Guantanamo 90-6, and then for the Defense Authorization Act, it was 86-13, and in that you could not close Guantanamo, or at least transfer the detainees to the U.S. So does Faz make a good point here?
I think it's shared responsibility. Look, President Obama could have vetoed the defense bill that included some of the provisions more later than that Senate vote that included the provisions blocking him from transferring detainees at Gitmo. He could have vetoed that bill. He also could have cited the authority that President Bush cited, his executive authority, in issuing a signing statement to basically ignore that. Now, I wouldn't endorse that because I think the president has too much power. I think these signing statements are completely out of control. But the power was certainly there. I certainly think he got pushback from the Congress. But let's not forget, this is a president who has cited his own authority to assassinate American citizens without charge, who's now also saying that he doesn't have the power to close down Gitmo when in fact that he does. So what I fault him for is a selective analysis of what his power is and is not.
You know, Carl, as I look at this, I think if it was Bush, what would he have done? Well, we know what he would have done.
Whatever the heck he wants to do.
Exactly, and that's how we got Gitmo in the first place. Gitmo had no legal authority. Who comes up with this island where there's no laws that can be applied, American law, Cuban law? And he's like, I don't give a damn, I just did it, right? So
Jack,
I'm torn on this one. What's your sense of it?
You know, I'm a former Republican. I experimented in my youth. And one thing I can tell you is in a knife fight, when a Republican stabs you, they step on your neck to break it. When a Democrat stabs you, they help you up, they put you in the hospital, and then they let their insurance cover the bill for you. If we were smart, when we took power in 2008 with a Democratic majority in the House and Senate, and a Democrat in the White House, we would not have taken our foot off of the Republican throat. Republicans were on the ropes, and we thought, we can work with them. That was our first big mistake, the idea that we could ever work with them. If President Obama and Democrats in Congress wanted to shut down Gitmo, they could have done it, but they lacked the spine to do it. And if they had the spine, I don't mean the spine to actually get it done, I mean the spine for the fight with the Republicans. And it's something that we've had a problem with, particularly with Congress. I agree with Faiz, particularly with Congress. We've never pushed Republicans back to the point of no return. What we should have been saying over and over and over again until it was ingrained in the minds of the American people is that Republicans in Congress are putting our men and women overseas in danger, and every day that Gitmo is open, it is serving as a terrorist recruitment tool. Don't ask us. Talk to General Petraeus, talk to John McCain, and talk to George W. Bush. They agree.
Right. You know, that's a great point.
Can I just quickly...
That's a great point by Carl.
Can I just quickly add a point?
Real quick, Faz.
Yeah, so another key argument to make is that it costs a heck of a lot of money to keep Guantanamo open. That's one reason conservatives should support this. It costs $800,000 per detainee, about $140 million a year, just to keep Gitmo open.
So listen, you guys are all right. All the points you've made are correct, right? And if we wanted to make the case, that's the #1 problem with this administration. They don't make the case. Then they were surprised they lose, right? So I think the final word on this is that Republicans definitely get the majority of the blame. They're the ones who blocked it. 60% of the blame there, but 20% goes to the president for not making the case, and 20% to the Democrats in Congress who sold him out on this and voted with the Republicans. Keep it real. They're all at fault for keeping this atrocity open. All right, now, second topic, who's more electable? Everybody says Ron Paul can't win. You know, he kind of acknowledged how dangerous he is. Let's watch.
But I sort of have to chuckle when they describe you and me as being dangerous. That's one thing, they are telling the truth, because we are dangerous to the status quo of this country.
That guy cracks me up, man. Later in his speech, he said this.
That's right. Nice. Man, I am dangerous.
Perhaps not Ron Paul there, but the same idea. All right, so these guys always say, oh, Ron Paul can't win. I don't care that he almost came in first in Iowa and came in second in New Hampshire. Let's dismiss him. But Mitt Romney is a corporate robot in a time when everybody hates Wall Street. So who's really less electable? Carl, you start out.
Well, you know, I would normally say that that Ron Paul is less electable, but I'm getting breaking news that they've just discovered a trove of newsletters written during the Winter Olympics that Romney chaired that are really racist against Scandinavian countries and the Canadians. And, you know, only something like that would make me change my mind and say that Mitt Romney is less electable than Ron Paul.
So you're still voting Ron Paul?
For one reason. The conservative establishment in Washington, D.C. will never coalesce around Ron Paul. They're already circling the wagons for Romney. They would never do that for Ron Paul, and they would never be able to clear the deck for him and get these other candidates out of the way. Ron Paul's not an electable figure.
I hear you on that. Let's go to the uprising.
I think Ron Paul could make a strong case, looking at the polling data, that he is a better nominee for the Republican Party. I mean, you look at the results in New Hampshire, 40% of Ron Paul's voters were people who hadn't voted in a Republican primary before. You look at a new CBS poll out this week that shows that Ron Paul gets more independent support than Mitt Romney. And I think it's because Ron Paul offers independents something that most Republicans don't. A critique of foreign policy, a critique of militarism, a critique of the drug war, a critique of big corporate bailouts. Now, I'm not endorsing Ron Paul. I think his economic policies would be a big downfall for him. His civil rights policies would be a big downfall for him. But I do think that he has crossover appeal if he was the Republican nominee.
And by the way, two separate polls show Ron Paul running best against Barack Obama, which is surprising, but reality. But Faz, you get to break the tie here.
Well, I don't think he would be more electable, only because we will operate in a two-party system. Unfortunately, both parties don't want him. There's not a majority in either party that wants to endorse him. And I think he faces the same problem in the party system as he does with journalists, which is that he's trying to run a substantive campaign on ideas, and people don't actually, the majority of people aren't appreciative of the fact that he's actually introducing some substantive thoughts into the dialogue. They're much more swayed by horse race types of analysis, and that's unfortunate for Ron Paul. It's unfortunate for our political dialogue.
All right, all great points, great power panel. Thanks all of you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, when we come back, Pat Buchanan has been suspended from MSNBC. He says the gays are out to get him. We will discuss that when we return.